They are hybrid agent Smiths, simply vehicles for this archontic distortion to express itself in this world. That's why they act as they do. And this software program has to be protected. If you interbreed it with the wider human population, its traits, its character traits, including the lack of empathy, start getting diluted. This is where the elite interbreeding with each other comes from, whether it's the royals of old or the royals of today, or whether it's the interbreeding rich and famous families around the world. They're holding this particular software to stop it being diluted in its impact on behavior. So when we're looking at bloodline genealogy, in effect, on their level, it's replicating the software program, so it holds its power. And so we're looking at, therefore, a structure, a hierarchy, which comes out of the unseen through the reptilian and other non-human into the human dynasties, and then we enter the spider's web, or the pyramid of manipulation within the society that we see. It's a whole hierarchy coming out of the unseen into the seen that I described much earlier. Now, these bloodlines are part human, so that we see them as human, and they're part non-human, and that non-human part connects into this reptilian force, this archontic force, whatever you want to call it. And because there's this hybrid nature, the frequency compatibility is much closer than the human population, and therefore the ability to use them as a vehicle and simply direct their behavior is much more powerful. This is a Swiss clairvoyant who can see further in to the energy field frequency that most humans can't. And I read this article, and I didn't know where it was going. It was just interesting. It was just an article about this guy's life. So I'm reading it, and then this came up. He said, when I see people in business or politics who are particularly trapped by the material world, for example, I notice they no longer have any light bodies at all. In many of these people, the point of light at the heart chakra, which is otherwise always present, is no longer visible to me. What do we call these people? Heartless. Exactly. Instead, I see something like a layer of shiny tar around them, in which a monstrous being in the shape of a lizard can be distinguished. When such people speak on television, for example, I see a crocodile shape manifesting itself around the person like in a concave mirror. I don't see the light of their throat and forehead chakra, because they're not the same bodily construct as humans on an energetic level. They are dual DNA. And they believe they are the master race because they are genetically connected to what were perceived as the gods, the masters of human society. Just a trick of the light, don't worry. It's not real. Now, because this software vehicle for this archontic force and that force itself has no empathy, this is why they can do and create the horrific things that happen in the world and have no emotional consequence. We couldn't do that. The emotional impact would be crucifying, so we can't do it. To them, they have no problem. In fact, it's a good laugh. They are not like us. When people say they wouldn't do that, no, you wouldn't do that. They would do it and love it. That's the difference. And so when we look at these people, we see the human level, and they seem to be human and all that stuff. But on another part of their energetic hybrid field, they are not human. And this is a guy called Roddy Piper. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. But he was a wrestler, and he starred in a real cult movie. I saw it a long time ago, called They Live. And it was produced by a guy called John Carpenter, who, when you follow his film history, he is very much aware of what's going on. What he thinks of it, I don't know, but he's aware of it. And this was a story about how this guy, the character played by Roddy Piper, uncovered that the world was controlled by entities hiding behind human form. And part of it was he got some sunglasses, which were special sunglasses, and when you put the sunglasses on, you could see who they really were, as opposed to what they appeared. When you took the glasses off, they were human. You put the glasses on, they weren't human. Anyway, he did an interview a few years ago and talked about my work and stuff like that in the interview in America. And he said, you know, They Live, and he was serious. He said, They Live was not a movie. It was a documentary. It's what's really happening. And it is. And in these books, I go into the reptilian thing massively and at great length and have many stories of people's experiences of interacting with these entities and what have you. Now, one of the things, again, that I am laughed at about is when I say these bloodlines can shapeshift between human and reptilian form. You go, have a good laugh, there you go, you feel better now, that's good. Now, what people say, five-sense reality, postage stamp consensus, you can't go from a physical body to another physical body. No. Do you know you can't? No, you can't. Of course you can't. That's ludicrous. But there's no physical. What we're looking at is when we talk about hybrid bloodlines, we're actually talking about hybrid energetic fields. One has the human information, one has the reptilian or other non-human information, not always reptilian. And therefore, when the human field is the dominant one, any observer is decoding that field. So when they decode that field into holographic reality, it looks like a human body. But when there is a shift and the other field becomes the dominant one, anyone who is observing that shift sees it holographically, they perceive it as physical, the movement of a human body to a non-human body, and often back again. The only place the shift takes place, quote, physically, is in the decoding systems of the brain at the back, where we decode information fields into visual holographic reality. It's not a physical shift. That would be impossible. So they are part human, part non-human, and it's the human part that's put forward most of the time. But I've talked to so many people who have experienced these people. Sometimes when they're in a real rage, it happens. A real rage. And when you're in a rage, you're sending an electrical charge through you. Sometimes you can get so angry you feel the electrical charge. And that charge can cause a shift they don't want to happen. And a number of times I've had described to me around the world where people in such a rage have suddenly shifted into a non-human form in the decoding systems of the observer. So the more that the information of one field is dominant, the more you will decode that shift. And that's the same with possession. You know these exorcist-type possessions, where people's faces actually change? I've seen it. It's bizarre. It's because the possessing entity's information field becomes more and more the dominant information source, and as it imposes itself upon the possessed energetic field, it's impacting more and more on the field that the observer is decoding. And as that happens, the observer is seeing the face shift from one form to another. What's happening is one dominant information field is becoming the dominant one over another. And that's what exorcist-type satanic possession is about. So the only place that shifting takes place physically is in the decoding systems of the brain. And so we're looking at these people, and they appear to be human, but they're very different beyond what we can see.